farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Cody.
And my name is Jonnie.
And we are here today to talk about cottagecore games. Woo.
Woo.
Okay, I'm not going to ask Jonnie how he's doing because that'll just get us right into the issue. So, the issue at hand. So I'm going to first mention today's topic is what games we think should include farming. So these are games that do not have like big farming components, or it's like a series that has not had a farming game specifically that we think are like ripe for the plucking. So that's what we're going to talk about. We also have a bunch of game news. And then I'm going to talk about what I've been up to, but Jonnie does not want to talk about what he's been up to. He has something else to talk about.
Well, that's because I haven't had time to play games, because I've been raging about last week's episode where Kev and Al made a tier list, and I'm hoping you can hear the finger quotes that I was making when I said that they made a tier list.
I did.
Because I'm sorry, guys, but what was that? That was a terrible tier list. First of all, okay, I am a tier list purist. I feel like so many tier lists now, people undermine the purpose of having an S tier. S tier is meant to be for the elite. You cannot have 20 characters in S tier, which I don't know how many they put in, but it was a lot. There were too many S tier characters. Are you a purist when it comes to tier lists, Cody, like me?
I think that, like, so from listening to the episode, I didn't have any strong feelings, but I did feel like there were some people that they put in the S tier that I felt like they felt more strongly about. And like, that's the situation where like, that's like, those should be the people who are in their own tier. Or like in a tier above S tier or something, or like bump everyone else down to A. I'm not entirely sure how they want to work on that, but as it stands, like, it was just kind of, I mean, I didn't necessarily disagree with where they put a lot of people, but I agreed with some of the sentiment we talked about in the Slack. So what were those sentiments?
And so first of all, too many in S tier. Agree with you, Cody. You bump everyone down. Also, no F tier. Like, Stardew Valley has F tier characters. It's very clear. A tier list is not about being nice and making friends. A, these are digital characters. Who cares? And B, who's saying that Demetrius, Pan, and Mia Lewis are not F tier? They're my personal F tier characters. They are F tier. No D. Okay. Add an F tier.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like they would have, the boys, I mean, Kevin and Al are probably like, they think Clint is F tier. Like, I was shocked that they didn't use F tier for that.
Oh, so Clint is below F tier. Clint is in Clint tier. I have done my own tier list, which I have put into the Slack. So if you are interested in seeing a real tier list, patreon.com/thspod. I don't know, maybe Al can link my tier list in the show notes for this one, because I feel like it's a much better tier list. It's soon to be officially endorsed by the show. It's just objectively better. But I even feel like some of the choices of who they put into S tier is just like confusing. So my personal S tier, just to be clear, is Haley, Linus, and Willie. Right? For me, they're the three characters with the most story that, not that I relate to, that's the wrong word, but that I feel some attachment to the story, right? Like, and each person I'm sure would have different characters that they would put in there. I'm sure everyone will probably have Linus. But for me, S tier is like, when I'm saying like, what do I like about the characters in the game? Like, those are the stories that I'm most going to refer to. And like, that's independent, right? Like, the character I probably have romanced the most across the game is Leah. But Leah is like a solid B tier character, you know?
Wow.
She's fine, but boring.
Yeah.
So she's a B tier character.
I guess like that was the other thing, is that they were going off of like how they thought the characters were. It was unclear to me how the grading was, because they were like, no, like not how we feel that they are as a character that has been created, but at who they are as people. And that's like kind of difficult to judge because you're getting like the one-sided situation from a lot of these people. Like, I don't know Clint's backstory. I don't know who hurt him, you know?
Clint hurt Clint. It's all his own fault.
Oh no.
And that's why he gets Clint. That's why he gets Clint tier.
Yeah.
Do I have anything else to say about the... Oh, look, I feel like the other thing that really stood out to me on the tier list is there's like a little snip that I took of S tier that has Jodie, Leah, Robin, and Penny all together. And I don't want to know, you know, there's maybe a sort of similar visual style between those four characters. I'm just going to let that one...
Perhaps all with a certain hair color, perhaps.
Right. Right?
I didn't
to be honest,
think about that until you showed me the picture, and I was like, oh no.
And it's just funny because the way they put it in the tier list, that they were just all together with Linus sort of hanging out in the middle, and I was like, yeah, it's just Linus and his ladies arm. Just hanging
Linus and his four redheads, yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
But to be honest, this is why I like tier lists, right? Like, one, people have different approaches. And I think people do tend towards being too nice. And it's like, we're just going to, you know, push things up above where they need to be, which I would like to see people move away from. But it generates good discussion, right? Because it's one of those things where it's like, actually, the act of going through that, it's kind of... Or through creating my own tier list, it's thinking about, like, what is it that I like about characters in games. And I think when I look at my S tier, the thing that is like, I like characters that go on journeys and have probably relatable but not wholly positive stories, right? Like, all three of the characters I have at the top have, like, challenges or negative aspects, but overall their stories are positive ones, or about kind of like, I guess, different perspectives on things. So anyway, that was the thing I learned about myself from doing the tier list. I also just put all of the minor characters in D, because I'm like, how do you rate the bouncer? Which, you know, Kev seemed to have a real love for the bouncer.
Yeah, Kev was like S tier immediately, and I was like, this bro has 2 lines, my guy. Like,
right?
Or like the dwarf, like all of these people that like you don't really see that much of, and I don't have enough information to make an educated guess. I think it would be so. Another thing is that I haven't really personally gotten into a lot of the like backstory of a lot of the characters in Stardew Valley, but I have been doing that for Coral Island. So I would love to make a list for Coral Island. I would get heated about that for sure.
I feel like that sounds like a great idea for an episode. And I know immediately that we would disagree on some characters, because if I remember rightly, you are a fan of Scott, and I think he is like the driest possible character in that entire game.
I am very close to marrying Scott right now. So I guess we'll move forward into what I have been up to. On top of tearing my calf muscle, I have also, that has given rise to a lot of time of sitting down, which means I can play games, which is great. And so I've been playing Disney Dreamlight Valley still, trying to get like 100% on a lot of the achievements. Right now I'm trying to finish off the critters. I only have 2 more critters. And I actually, so big tip for people who are playing Stardew Valley and who are looking for certain critters. Each critter like comes out at a specific day at a specific time. So like the 2 things that I want, which I think are like the pink crocodile and the red fox, are both on Saturdays, and I usually don't play on Saturdays, so that's why I don't have them yet. But they both come out on Saturday, and they come out at different times, and they have different, like, all the critters have different requirements. Like, the crocodiles want a certain, like, lobster is their favorite, and the foxes want sturgeon or whatever it is. And so I finally just looked all of that up because I had realized that they were only there at certain times. And so I was like, okay. And when you go into the game, you can look at the critter page, and it'll be like, not here today. Like, this one's not here today. But I was like going online and I was just never seeing them around. And so I finally was just like, screw it, I'm Googling it. And I found out it's Saturday. So tomorrow is going to be lit for me. I'm hoping to get both of them solidified. That'd be awesome.
Can I ask, when you say you're 100%ing all of the achievements, is that including the, like, you know, harvest 10,000 blueberry achievements, like all of those?
I already have
things?
I already have those.
Oh my god. Codey. It's a lot.
It is. The one that I don't have right now that's really frustrating is like water 7,000 crops, because I have water, like, so I would plant, for a long time I was planting when it was raining, because that's super simple. And you can just literally plant like wheat and then harvest, like by the time you're done planting like a little like 8x8 square, it's already like ready on the other side. So then you just go back to harvesting and then you just go plant again. But one of them is to water 7,000 plants. And so now I'm having to plant all this stuff that I don't care about, just so that I can, but it's fine. 'Cause there's another achievement where you're supposed to buy seeds, buy like 600 seeds or something from each of the biomes. And I think I still need to buy like another 300 seeds from the Glade of Trust. So I need to buy seeds anyway. It's fine. I almost have all of the stuff for the, gosh, what was the Tiana DLC called? I don't remember, but it's the one that like brought in Tiana and a bunch of her furniture and wardrobe stuff. I've almost completed that star path and have everything that you get from that. I think it still has a couple days, so I'm gonna hope that that's true, because then I think that they're gonna start like a spooky Halloween star path.
Do you get anything for completing all of the achievements other than like there was that currency?
It's that currency. Yeah, you get like the Dreamlight. I have like almost 100,000 Dreamlight. Which you use Dreamlight to either to like unlock new realm. So like when they open whatever the next realm is, let's say it's Hocus Pocus. If they unlock the Hocus Pocus realm and then you have to go to the castle and like open the door, the gateway to that realm, that's like where you use the Dreamlight. And usually the doors only need like 10,000 and I have almost 100,000. Yeet.
Cool. One last question, because I feel like you and I are sort of the DDV correspondence on the show, and I haven't played since, you know, you and I think last talked about it, and that was, you know, when the story finished, and I hit credits on the game. How do you feel the game is going in terms of, like, is it kind of just adding new stuff and mini stories, and it's kind of just like, if you're into it, it's good, or like, is the game expanding beyond that, or is it that you need to play it, you know, with the star paths as they're coming out? Like, what's your current take on state of the game for maybe someone that dabbled in it a little bit when it was in early access or something like that? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I would say the star paths are important if you're interested in collecting all of the like outfits and furniture things. I thought that the Dapper Delights, I think is actually what it's called, Star Path, that has a lot of Tiana stuff. I really liked a lot of the stuff that was in that Star Path. So, and also just from playing consistently, I have a ton of Moonlight or Moonstone or whatever the heck it's called. So it, you know, paying 2,500 Moonstone which I've never had to pay like real money. Like I always just get it for free by playing the game. Paying like 2,500 Moonstone to like get access to the full star path was a no-brainer for me. But so that's really what the star paths are good for, is just like the furniture, the wardrobes, that kind of thing. And then so if you're really not into that, the star paths are not necessary. Every time they release a star path, they have been like releasing a new character along with it, but you don't have to do the star path. You can just come and be like, I want to meet Tiana, or I want to meet Mulan, or whatever. But also, I don't think that content goes away. Like, I don't think that if you miss when Mulan shows up, that you're not going to get to ever meet Mulan. It's just that you're probably not going to get immediate access to the star path rewards. I'm assuming that they'll become available like through the store, but that's like through Scrooge's store, but you can't pick what shows up there. It just kind of like randomly goes through a bunch of stuff. So if you're wanting something specific, you kind of just have to like, and then the achievements, I mean, there's no purpose. I did this with World of Warcraft too. I just went and like pet all of the critters and did all of this silly stuff just because seeing little achievements like being done just makes my dopamine skyrocket. So that's that. It's not necessary at all. So if you're like not really sure, or if you're not really tied to any of these characters, or if you don't super care, like I would just wait for a big content update or something. I'm assuming eventually this like Rift in Time thing will just become free to play, and you won't have to like, because it's a paid DLC currently, but and it has like, it adds a whole nother dimension because it adds a whole extra tool, which I think messes with time. But I've not even, since I don't have that, I haven't even unlocked any of that stuff yet. And I think it also adds multiple characters that I, again, don't have access to. But I'm not really that worried about it.
Nice. So, it's good to hear. Like, it feels like they're developing that game in a really positive way, but also a way that kind of, ultimately these games are, need to make money. So it sounds like they're striking that balance in a healthy way, which not many games do these days.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the other thing, so the other thing I've been playing is Coral Island. And last time Al and I talked about Coral Island, we were talking about 1.1. And we talked about like the different things that 1.1 brought and how we didn't get to any of them. So I finally got to give the mer people what they wanted from me, which was like 5 osmium crops and 5 osmium essences. And then once you give that to them, it basically like allows you to get a tail. And then the moving around in the underwater area is so fast. So that's great. After that, they then ask for you to bring them 75 osmium crops and 30 osmium essences. And that's where I'm currently stuck because I like can't go into a bunch of the buildings because they're like, you're not allowed in here and stuff like that. Like just getting a tail doesn't mean that they all automatically accept you. But that also means that I need to like harvest 75 osmium crops. I finally have improved a lot of my stuff to be able to do that, but whatever. I'm in my second year now, and I almost have most of the lake shrine, like temple, like finished, but I'm not entirely sure like how much I can really do without like getting the very specific fish that you can only get in the first 7 days of fall. That kind of stuff. But I'm really enjoying Coral Island right now. Like that has my full attention really, except for tomorrow when it's going to be Disney Dreamlight out.
Yeah, I've been thinking about maybe jumping back into Coral Island now that 1.1 is out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we've been up to. Woo!
Woo!
So we're going to jump into game news here. The first thing on our list that Al has procured for us is Fae Farm, which is coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, and the Windows Store. So I guess it's only been on Switch and Steam, yeah? Question mark?
Sure, why not?
Okay. It does say, okay, I should just read more. That's going to happen on the 22nd of October. And on the Twitter post that they posted, quote, "The new versions will include all content up to date and full crossplay with the existing PC and Nintendo Switch edition." So yeah, currently it's on PC and Nintendo Switch, and you'll be able to crossplay with everything. So if you're wanting it, if you've been like, oh man, I've been waiting for it on PlayStation or Xbox, like here's your time. Did you play Fae Farm? I can't remember. I think you were mad at it.
Yeah, right? I like how Fae Farm plays as a game. There's lots of good quality of life stuff that they do. The movement is very fun. Unfortunately, the quest story world, it wasn't there for me.
Yeah.
And it was so far away that I didn't really have any desire to go back. I know they've done a number of updates on it, So I think if you're someone who you're just like, I like farming, I like doing that side of things, I think this is a very good game for that. If, like me, you prefer more of a story narrative to your games, this is not one to satisfy.
Okay. Well, maybe that's something, maybe that's next after console. No.
Well, they did some work on it, but it was just the characters were so bland that it just felt like it was. Yeah, it was just so far away that I know that they've done some work on it, but it's like some work on it would maybe get it to a point where it's acceptable. It felt like it needed a huge overhaul, and there was a lot of like some of the major quests in the game. It would you would get to an important point, and it would be like, and you went and did the thing, and then you wake up the next day, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay. I would kind of like to see me doing the thing. That would be cool.
Would have been cool. I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Well, maybe that'll come later. Next on our list is My Time at Evershine, which I did not remember this game, so my brain thought that this was Ranch of Rivershine, which I think was the like horse game. This is not that. This is the next My Time game. So My Time at Portia, My Time at Sandrock. This is the third installment of that. So the Kickstarter is now live, and there is a new fancy trailer. The Kickstarter goal was $200,000, and that goal was hit in 35 minutes. They then unlocked $500,000 in 3 hours, $800,000 in 11 hours, and then 26 hours was when they reached $1 million. And at the time, let me see if it's changed drastically since I looked. Yep, it did. It went up $30,000 more. It is at almost $1.3 million right now. Wild. And it still has quite a way to go.
It's pretty nuts, but this is one of those things that I feel like is just generally good, right? Like, I think in general around here, we're not huge fans of these games, but they clearly have their fans, and they obviously My Time at Sandrock landed because My Time at Evershine got funded so well. And I feel like, looking at the trailer for My Time at Evershine, like it looks like a good next iteration on this formula that is clearly working for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they've got a lot of stretch goals that they hit as well. So at 200, I'm just going to go through these rapid fire. 200,000 was an in-game t-shirt for all backers. 250 was flirting to build emotional connections with NPCs faster. Okay. 300,000, you got the bathtub. Okay. 400,000 was player-voted interaction, so it's a new romance interaction. Players can design and vote on their favorite designs. Interesting. Looks like some options might be hug, or I can't see that picture very well. Hug or something else for romance. 500,000.
It looks like maybe a kiss.
Okay. Disgusting. At 500,000, it was they unlocked voting for someone, a character from either My Time at Portia or My Time at Sandrock that can visit. So it would be a character that would come into Evershine. 600,000 was swimming. 700,000 was hot springs. 800,000 was a new special pet. Oh, they got me. Players can submit their designs. Ooh, they're taking people's designs. 900,000 was a pajama set. $1 million was 10 new photo poses. And then they had hidden goals, and of course those goals are unlocked at this point. So we have the hidden goal of Logan will be Logan will be visiting My Time. I don't know, is Logan a good character from the thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
It looks like I'm assuming it's a character from My Time at Sandrock.
Okay. Yeah, he has like a cowboy hat thing. And then a visitor from the past. The builder from Sandrock will visit Settlement 2 with Logan for a story quest. You'll be able to tweak their appearance, name, and relationship with Logan to get the desired effect. So that is where we currently... That's it. I think we've already got that. No. Wait, it's not clear to me what's going on with this goal thing. I think it is, yeah. So at 1.2 million was that, and we're already at that. At 1.4 million, the stretch goal, you can now adjust your height. Cue the that should have been an option thing. And then, so that's what we're still going for. And at 1.7 million is another romanceable character. Yep, not going to play this, but cool.
Look, I keep thinking about whether or not I want to try my time at Samrock just to see what they're doing. So I'm not going to commit to not playing this.
Okay. I don't know. It gives me, like, when I watch the trailer, it's giving, like, Final Fantasy vibes, and I didn't like Final Fantasy. Internet, come at me. Okay.
I don't say that I don't like Final Fantasy, because I've never played Final Fantasy.
Cool. This is a safe space.
Correct.
Next up is Lightyear Frontier. They have a new Neighbors and Animals update. So this is an update that is out now, actually. It became available. It's out a couple days after we're recording, but it will be out by the time this comes out. A big question a lot of people had is if they have save files already, is that going to work with a new update? It will, 100%. So your save will just, like if you have an early access save, it will just merge right into the new update. I believe this is also a free update, which is cool.
Yes. So Lightyear Frontier, if I remember rightly, is still in demo.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's in early access now.
Yeah.
Early access, and it has a demo, but the demo is, trying to see it. The demo itself is coming down on October 8th. So,
right.
So you can get it. If you buy it, then you can access it now and play it now. But if you I don't think that your save from the demo goes over. I think it's your save from early access. So the demo was just like a small, like, if you can just play it for free and see how you like it. But then if you buy it as an early access game, then you'll get access to this update, and whatever file you have will move on to the update. This update is including, so it's called Neighbors and Animals. So the Neighbors, you invite 2 new characters to your area, and it's a rancher named Diane, who of course helps you with the animals, and a field research scientist named Ulf. It doesn't really say what exactly he is, but he helps you like splice seeds together, and he has flowers in his beard, and I love that.
Yeah, I tried Lightyear Frontier. It didn't really grab me. I guess this is... I think if you were enjoying Lightyear Frontier, this sounds great, but it doesn't seem like a huge uptake from my perspective.
Yeah. I think, like, it's just a little bit of extra, like, a couple characters and then the animals. But other than that, I also don't really think this is adding that much. And I am not a fan of space, so... Next on our list is Stardew Valley. 1.6 is now coming to mobile and Switch on the 4th of November. And Concerned Ape said, quote, "The console and mobile ports will release at version 1.6.9, which will also come to PC around that time. I'm looking forward to having 1.6 fully released on all platforms. Then I would like to finish Haunted Chocolatier next. Thank you."
I will believe it when I see it. Sorry, in reference to Haunted Chocolatier, not 1.6 coming to mobile.
So yeah, if you the console and mobile ports for that are coming out, super cool. November 4th, and so if you've been waiting to jump back in until that, it's gonna. I also like how it's like not only coming to console and mobile at that point, but it's also just going straight to like the most updated version. And so it's not like, oh, some are going to be at 1.6.2 and some are going to like, or anything like that. Like everyone is going to be up to date at the same time. I really like that. Next we have Paleo Pines. So there are 2 upcoming DLCs, the Trick or Treat DLC and the Spooktacular DLC. We're getting into spooky season, y'all. For Trick or Treat, quote, "This DLC is all about a brand new nighttime adventure. Explore Paleo Pines after dark. Collect treats from your townsfolk pals and uncover a mysterious trickster who's up to no good. There's even a cool mini-game, awesome rewards, and a chance to befriend some spooky colored dinos that look like they've crawled straight out of a Halloween movie. I don't think that they've put pictures of this up. Oop, there's a trailer video. I'm going to watch it now because just come out of a Halloween movie. Like, I don't know what Halloween movies y'all are watching, but if a dinosaur came out looking like what I would expect coming out of a Halloween movie, it would be a little gory.
Yeah, I'm guessing these are going to be a little bit cuter.
No, okay, so I just saw one of them was a dinosaur with a pumpkin on its head. That is actually adorable, unfortunately. And then the next Spooktacular DLC. Quote, want to make your ranch the spookiest place on the block? The Spooktacular DLC has everything you need. Decorate your land with spooky scarecrows, bubbling cauldrons, and more. You can even get in on the fun with some fantastic fang vampire hot outfits for your rancher. Dress up and show off the Halloween spirit. Okay, so that is more like, I don't know why these are they at different times. Why are there two?
Who knows? Who knows?
Why are they?
Because more DLC means more money.
It's true. Well, I thought that. Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. They're cute though. If you like paleopines and you're just looking for more skins and cute mini games and stuff, that's coming out. Okay. I feel like this is the one that's going to take a lot of our time, unless you don't have too much to talk about it. But I assume you do. Last but certainly not least, Tales of the Shire. So on September 22nd was Hobbit Day, because, correct me if I'm wrong, that is Bilbo and his uncle's, Bilbo and...
Frodo and Bilbo's birthday.
Thank you, Frodo. Frodo and Bilbo's birthday. So that came out on Hobbit Day, and it was a 18-minute trailer. It was super cute. What did you think about the trailer?
I don't think there was anything new revealed in the trailer or in the showcase. I think it was mostly just new, like more detail on stuff we already knew. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a ton, I think, that I have to say about it, other than putting a bunch of New Zealanders to speak on camera is like the worst possible choice to get people excited about your game. Like, as a people,
loved it.
As a people, we are not exciting to listen to and terrible on camera, and I was just like, this was certainly a choice, and not a very good one.
Did you know anyone who was on camera?
I did, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Because New Zealand is such a tiny place, clearly. You guys all know each other. Well, that's super cool. Okay, but like what... So, of the things that we saw some more content on, like, did you have anything that you were really jazzed about or anything?
So, for me, the thing that I am most excited about with this is the focus on cooking. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's the idea that the game is built around a specific aspect of cozy games. We have had so many cozy games that just do the Stardew Valley thing of, we're going to do all of it, and it's all equally important. What I like about this is that it's like very focused around the thing that is important to hobbits, mm-hmm. right? There was a game I recall, I don't think it's ever come out yet, but it's been around in the news for a while, which was based around building and owning an inn. And the more we learned about that game, the less it felt like it was in any way connected to owning an inn, because it just had every feature from every other cozy game. And that's the thing that has me most excited, and you see it through some of the little choices that they're making as well, like the fact that it's not a grid-based placement system for decorating in your hobbit hole so that it can be a chaotic mess like I imagine a hobbit hole would be. Mm-hmm. To me, it just feels like those little decisions are it makes sense in the game that they are building and in the world that they are building that game in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's what I really like.
I really like, that was one thing that really stuck out to me, is like the customization capabilities of the decorating, where it like showed a character putting something on a couch, like a pillow, and they were able to like position it any way they wanted and like turn it like just to like 10 degrees or whatever and just make it like exactly how they wanted it. And I thought that I love when games do that. Like I've always loved that The Sims, after the first couple Sims, they've like added a way that you can do that. There is a grid-based system, but you can like hit a key and then it'll let you put things wherever you want. So it gives more, it doesn't feel as rigid. I super appreciated that about this. They also said like as you play, some of the spaces in your home are boarded up, but like as you're playing the game, you get access to more of those rooms. Like you get someone to help you like take the boards off of one door or whatever. And then they're like, and then you can decorate that room however you want. And I was like, and they showed a really cool library, and I was like, y'all know I'm just gonna make all libraries, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna have a living room, like a living area that has like a desk, and then of course you have your pantry with all your food and your kitchen and like probably a kitchen table room or what is that called? A dining room, probably a bedroom, right? But every other room that I unlock is just gonna be another version of a library, because that would be what my house would look like. So, I also really. The highlight of the video for me was the art director's dog. There's a moment where he like talks about, I don't even know what he says, but he starts walking and the camera just like zooms in at his feet and there's just a dog walking next to him. It's this little white poofy dog. So cute. I loved that. Have you pet that dog?
I have not pet that dog.
You should pet that dog.
Okay. Oh, add it to the list of things to do next time I'm in Wellington.
Okay, cool. The other thing that I really wanted to point out was the cooking mechanic. They really seem to have a lot of like options and a lot of different ways that you could do that. So for example, they had, I think you were cooking like meat or something, but you were cutting it, and there was an option between like going really chunky or really fine cut. And it just had to do with how long you chopped for, right? So like if you chopped for only a small amount of time, it was on the chunkier side. And then there's like a bar that it's like the longer you chop, like that just keeps moving to the right, and it's just finer and finer and finer. And it kind of like gives you a discrete or a continuous scale. And I really like that because it allows for a lot of nuance in cooking.
Yeah, I agree, right? For me, that's one of the things that seems like has been done really well about the game, is because different recipes, as I understand it, will require, like some might want chunkier meat, whereas some might want more finely diced, right? And so you can, and I can't remember if it was shown in this video or a previous one, but there was different sort of flavor scales.
Yeah. It was like smoky,
so you're actually
smoky versus something else. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're actually crafting dishes rather than rather than just like kind of the standard cooking, right? Which is just like do the action on time, which is fine. You're doing real cooking, and that's very much at the core of the game, and it seems like it's got a lot of choice behind it, which is exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with Tales of the Shire?
So the other thing, like in general discourse about this game, I see a lot of commentary around the art style, and obviously because it's the internet, you know, most of the commentary you see is people that don't like it. And for me, like the art style is unique. Like I totally get why people may not love this art style, but I almost feel like a lot of the reaction is because art has become a little bit homogenous in games recently, and this is a different art style. Yes, it is a relatively simple art style, but I think it works for what the game is, and it's not something that I'm going to stand here and say it's my favorite.
Yeah.
But I think it works, and I feel like it's getting a lot of overly negative views on the art style simply because it's not aligned to what we commonly think of art style now, where it's like either your pixel or your, you know, like this kind of, you know, not Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild style, like, you know, like it just feels like there's a small number of categories now, and if you don't fit into one of those, then people look at it and go that it's bad.
Yeah.
But when I look at this, I get, to me, it kind of aligns to an art style that was sort of prominent in mid 2000s. Like I think of games like Fable,
yeah.
and Fable is like very English, old
Yeah.
England inspired. Obviously, Lord of the Rings, The Shire, very inspired by that region of the world. So there's something like actually that I like about this art style that makes me feel slightly nostalgic. So anyway, I just see a lot of negative discourse, and I think that's largely driven by people being less accepting of things that are trying something new. And I quite like what this is doing from an art style perspective.
Yeah, I think that was my initial gut reaction too, was like, oh, this is the unknown. Like, spooky. But I feel that like the more I see trailers of it, the more it's like endearing to me. And I think it's just something I just need to get used to. I don't think that it's bad. I think it's just different. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Exactly. Only other thing is Ladle. Ladle, best character. Ladle is the goose that's got the armor.
Oh, cute. Cool. Well, that is the news. Okay, so today we are talking about what games should include farming. So these are games either that we're coming up with off the top of our head or existing games that just like, why don't they have a farming aspect to them, really? So when this was pitched to me, I think it was pitched because of some of the conversations that like Al and Kevin had been having. And I was like really sitting there. I was like, man, okay, think of games that are not farming games. My brain went to like Call of Duty. And I was like, no. Or like Baldur's Gate. I don't think that's going to have farming in it. I do know World of Warcraft did have farming in it in the Mists of Pandaria expansion. It was actually pretty cool, but it was just kind of like a small little way to get experience with a certain faction of peoples. So I wouldn't, it's like a farming mini game, but it's not like full on farming. So when this was posed to us, did any games immediately come to mind for you, or was it kind of like something you had to sit down and think about?
The first game that came to mind for me was Skyrim. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh. Okay, elaborate. I'm here for it.
Yeah, so to me, it was one of those, like, Skyrim is such a big game, right? And when I was thinking about what would make sense for a sort of, genre to add farming to, the thing that really stood out to me is, like, how would it meaningfully add something to the gameplay of the game, right? And I don't recall if Skyrim had, like, if you could build farms when you could do some of the house building stuff, but that was sort of, very limited. And I guess when I say Skyrim, right, it's like any sort of Bethesda style open world game I kind of feel like this applies to, where it would be great if you could do just more farming, because farming is often you get resources from farms that exist, right? Like whether it's potatoes or whatever it is. But equally, kind of, the more I thought about it, the more the thing that stood out to me is the ability to do farming in a way that's slightly different, because you have so many different locations that you could do farming in. And what I started thinking about was the idea of, like, imagine what farming would be like in Fallout, where you have soil that is full of radiation, and maybe you are generating all of these, plants that have mutations on them. Or maybe in Skyrim where you're farming near the mountains and, it's really icy. Maybe that changes how you farm. Or in a game like Starfield, which nobody played because it was terrible. Like, what is it like farming on a planet that's further away from the local star that the planets are orbiting around? So I got really excited about, like, the variation that's possible within those sorts of games.
Yeah, I think that is really a cool idea. Like, I'm thinking about, the farm that you would have in like Whiterun or around Whiterun will be completely different than the one around Markarth, which is going to be a higher elevation, versus like the one in the swampy area that I hate going to. That's going to have completely different things. Like, it's also going to not require as much like water.
Yes.
And then, like, of course, the Solstheim, when you go there, there's different crops there, I'm sure. I'm all in for this. I did a quick Google, and apparently there is, like, a content creation thing that someone made that does this, which, I'd prefer it to be in the game. There are so many mods you could get for this game. It's ridiculous. But, I don't know. I would like it to be more of a, like, in-the-game thing.
Yeah, I want it to be inbuilt, right? Because, like, I can imagine, like,
yes.
maybe there's a farming guild and you need to go and grow certain crops, or which might require a farm in like I think you could build a lot more story around the nature of farming in an open world game like Skyrim.
Yeah. There is one plantation that you can get in the game right now, which is called Golden Hills Plantation. So you start the farm, but then you have to hire a steward, hire people to work the farm, tell them what to plant, tell them what to build, buy animals, and then you just come up and the steward's like, here's your money.
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
Here's the profit. And it's like, okay, but like, I want to do it.
Correct.
And there could be magic that is just like growing, like helping to grow. I'm trying to think of what magic system. Conjuration.
But it could be a new magic system, right? Like, because those games don't really have strong nature-based stuff, but it exists because you have dryads, and like the some of the lore exists, but it's not something that's been integral to the player character.
Yeah, it's really not. So there's the 6 types of magic are alteration, conjuration, destruction, enchanting, illusion, and restoration. But like, farming doesn't really fit in. Oh my gosh, you've sold me. I love Skyrim, so I can't believe that didn't come to my mind. It's like a whole new skill tree too. Okay.
Yeah, there's so many options, right? What about you, Cody? What was the thing that sort of landed for you first?
So, of course, the lowest hanging fruit, the fruit that's basically on the ground at this point, is Pokemon. And people are going to be like, oh, you have berries. There's so much more that you could do with that. Or like working with the Pokemon that are food already, like using them to help you farm. Like, I could see like the olive guy helping you with like trees, and he's helping you take care of trees, and he gives you advice on like how to harvest different tree-based fruits. Miltank and other such things. The Wooloo wool, so much wool from that baby right there. All the pigs could find truffle. I mean, there's like so many options for that. There is a player-made game when I was Googling if this exists or not, in any way. There's a player-made game that someone said that is going to have this, but to my knowledge, it has been in creation or like in development for like a decade at this point. So, and it's not sanctioned. So I am not gonna hold my breath on that.
And even the ability to use Pokemon like for the jobs, right? So whether it's using ground type Pokemon to help level out, and to create the plots that you farm in, or using, Girder and Kin to build your farm buildings, and so like just some of those things that are kind of implied already within Pokemon that we never really get to do, I think would be a very cool option.
The automation would be you befriend a water type Pokemon, and every morning its job is to go water all your stuff. You befriend a grass type Pokemon and they fertilize your stuff.
Yep.
It's right there. And it could be its own game, but I also thought of it as maybe like something that you could do within Pokemon Go. One thing that I thought of was if you could have your farm like at your house. So you get to place a farm in the real, but in virtual.
Okay.
And that is a place that you will go back to and tend things.
I love that idea, aside from the fact that it's in Pokemon Go, because that game It sucks. It's a terrible game.
No.
But like the idea of like your house being a farm in a Go style game where maybe you have to go out and collect seeds or do a certain number of steps to grow things, that sounds amazing. I am very into that idea.
Yeah. Oh, like okay. But maybe something that you could like connect to Pokemon Go so
No,
that you could have.
no.
Okay.
It's strictly better by not being connected to Pokemon Go.
But yeah, so it could be a mobile game, and it could be just something that you like physically go out into the world and you befriend these Pokemon, and then you convince them to come back with you. And you could even have maybe multiple farms where you could have one where you live and one where you work, but that's like something that that's either the pay to win program or something that you could do just earn a bunch of currency and then buy like a one use other farm or 1 week long farm or something like that. I'm not entirely sure of all the logistics, but same situation of like, befriend different Pokemon, find seeds, have your Pokemon bring back seeds, like Pikmin basically, but Pokemon. I don't know. There's like so many different ways you can go with it, because you can have berries, but also just bring in the food. Because the other thing is like in the newest games, they've added so many different like cooking mechanics. And every week when I listen to IS, it's super effective. They're talking about Pokemon Sleep and how in Pokemon Sleep, some Pokemon collect certain, like someone brings milk and someone else brings this other thing, and then you make it into something that Pokemon like or something like that. So like they already are thinking about the cooking side of mechanics, and that might be like, say you've befriended these starter level or entry level Pokemon, but you know that Snorlax wants a giant donut. So you need to collect all of the resources to craft this giant donut to then go offer it to Snorlax. And if he doesn't like it, he's not moving. But if he likes it, maybe he'll move. And if he really likes it, he'll come live with you. Because you give good food.
That sounds pretty great.
Yeah. And Slowpokes get to keep their tails in that right now.
Ooh, Slowpoke tail farming? Back in.
No, they keep their tail.
I mean, I heard what you said.
Though I wonder, I just put this together, that Slowpoke drops its tail, right? Or people cut its tail off, or does it drop its tail? Because there are some salamanders that will just straight up drop their tail and regrow it.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not great for them. It takes a lot of energy for them to regrow a tail, but it's better than straight up getting murked, If there's a predator coming, you just drop your tail and it wiggles a bunch, and the predator's like, what the heck is that? The more you know. Listeners, let us know if you think Slowpoke is a salamander. Do you have any other ideas of games that could include farming or should include farming?
Yeah, so one of the other things I started thinking about was the idea of, if we're going to put farming in, what's the purpose behind having it, and how would it change the overall structure of a game? And one of the genres I started thinking about was JRPGs, right? So something like a Dragon Quest, or there's the Octopath Traveler games that have come out, one of those sorts of things. And what appealed to me is a lot of JRPGs follow a similar formula where you're traveling around the world. You routinely encounter bad guys, and you might have a hub world, or a hub town that you're sort of going to and visiting. And it's so the idea of farming, initially I was thinking well, you have potions that heal you and all of that sort of stuff. Wouldn't it be cool if you were farming to acquire some of that stuff? Mm-hmm. Which was, kind of appealing. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was actually, what would be great is mini JRPGs. It's some sort of end of the world scenario. There's some bad guy who's building up an army and those sorts of things, and everyone in your hub world or the towns you visit, they're all down and depressed. And I was wouldn't it be cool if you could utilize farming as a way of changing the way you progress through the game? And what I was thinking about is, often in a JRPG you go out and grind against low-level mobs to build up experience points. That's a fairly routine thing. What if another option, instead of doing that, was you went back to the town and you were farming and you were sort of contributing to society, and that impacted the rest of the way you play through the game, because maybe the bad guy is recruiting less bandits to his cause, right? Because actually those people now have a place to live because you've put work into the town. So maybe you can progress through a game being weaker or at a lower level than you otherwise might need to be, because there's like the army is smaller that you're having to fight against because you've done good in the world. And that really appealed to me as sort of a core concept for a game.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you've already mentioned Fable, but wasn't that true in Fable that like your actions like impacted your goodness level or whatever and the way that the game progressed?
It did, yeah. So, it was kind of it was your light side, dark side meter, right? And if you did light side stuff, then in theory, I think you got less money, but, things were maybe easier or there were less fights to be in. I think that was the the very light summation of what happened there.
Yeah, and so maybe it's like, okay, here is this enemy force and tackle, like it provides you with different paths of like, okay, they're because of these areas, they're like taking advantage. The armies are taking advantage of these areas that have less infrastructure, less knowledge about like farming or whatever, because they took all the farmers. And then you come in and you're like, okay, let me show you how, like teach a new generation to do it. And then that means like less people get recruited, / maybe like the old people that got like the farmers that got stolen by those armies or something might be able to come home. I don't know.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
That way it's like it's instead of the direct, like, okay, we're going to fight them. Like, it's like, no, there's more than one way to fight an army, to minimize the size of an army.
Exactly. Cool. Yeah. So that idea, I think, was like also, yeah, it kind of just stood out. And right, like, how do you use farming to do something other than just produce resources to then produce more stuff? And kind of changing up that loop.
That to me like feels very Age of Empires almost, like where you have, but Age of Empires like makes it so that you end up moving beyond like farming, needing as much farming. No, I guess you always still need the same amount of farming. You just become more efficient at it.
Yeah, I guess I don't recall which game it is. I'm assuming it's something like a Civilization where there are multiple win states, right? Like it's not always just dominate and kill, the opposing team. It's like there are more diplomatic styles of victory. And so it's maybe rather than just having to attack, you could build up your farming, and maybe you're the supplier of the world's food, and that leads to your victory condition because you are strategically important because you supply food, not because you are a military.
Everyone else with food, and you threaten to withhold the food. I went real dark real fast, y'all.
Cody's like, how do I turn food into a weapon? Done.
I'm gonna turn basically biological warfare, but based on biological needs. Develop strains of food that doesn't produce or that makes people sell those seeds, like seeds that aren't viable to people. I'm going full dark. I'm on my dark run of Fable right now, of my world. Man, it's been a hot minute since I played Fable. Now that's going to be on my mind. Yeah, I could totally see that. And I feel like those games are so, like, people play those games a lot. Like, I remember people playing, like, Fire Emblem. Now I'm trying to think of how to put it into Persona. Jeff is playing a lot of, but I don't speak to that, I guess. So the other one that I didn't come up with this. The other one that Al and Kev mentioned on the last pod episode was a Mario farming game where Rosalina farms stars. Do you understand what that means?
I guess, like, Mario's kind of one of those things where you could almost apply it. You could almost put Mario characters into any sort of game. I don't really know enough about Rosalina to draw the connection to farming stars, other than, I guess that feels like a thing that a Mario game could do. For me, the question, though, is going to be what makes it stand out and different. And as I think a really good example, to go back to what we were talking about at the start of the episode, Disney Dreamlight Valley, while a classic cozy game in a lot of its gameplay really lent into the interaction of the villagers in a way that no other cozy game has, and in a way that is incredibly done, right? And that is the point of difference. So for me, I think what I struggle to see with the Mario game, and, partly because I haven't put any thought into it, is like, but what would be the thing that makes it different from everything else?
Yeah, I guess, like, the only reason that you get stars in that game is because you're trying to be a higher level to go save the princess or whatever, right? And, like, but what if what are you doing? Are you just stockpiling in case someone comes and steals your princess?
Look, I think the premise of Mario games is don't think too hard about why you're doing any of this, because it's...
Fair. I shouldn't be looking for logic in nostalgia.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, fair. Al and Kev, feel free in the Discord, or not Discord, Slack, go ham on us if you have better ideas, or if you think that we did not do that topic justice, for sure. Did you have any other suggestions or any other possible games ideas?
So the other game idea that I was thinking about was in sort of a Metroidvania genre, where you could, like, I can imagine some tie-in to farming, and I'm thinking about a game like a Hollow Knight, right, where it's,
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm immediately, my brain is at Hollow Knight right now.
Yeah, so if you sort of think about that as the base, but, all of the enemies are plant-based, I could see a world where you're effectively trying to grow the boss, to sort of progress to the next level. So, that's your reason for exploring, where you have to go and collect a certain sort of water or unblock a passage so that there's enough light shining down to then grow the boss to try and kill it. But ultimately what I was thinking about in regards to these sorts of games is more some of the cool things I think you could do at the end state, because my sense of what draws a lot of people into these games is not obviously people enjoy playing through them, but, Hollow Knight has a bunch of ridiculous end-game challenges for people to play through, and something that appeals to me and feels very tied into the idea of growing and planting things is, like, what if you start to mix seeds together, right? So you have different seeds that represent different bosses, and you get different combinations that come out. And
my gosh, that is wild. I'm, like, thinking of, like, the combo. So you played Hollow Knight, right? But you didn't really like it?
I'm just generally not a fan of those sorts of games.
Okay. Like, I'm thinking of so Dung Defender, for example, is one of my favorite bad guys. And then there's another bad guy who's in a really spooky, like, Citadel area. Can't remember his name, but I hate him because he was really hard to beat. Like, a merger of those two, I would probably just give up the game right there. But some people would love that. Would be like, okay, it takes, like, a little bit of one mechanic and a little bit of another.
Exactly, right? Where, I think you could come up with very interesting challenges based off of that. I think, the idea of merging things through the idea of kind of growing, a little bit of relation into the spreading of seeds and how that works, because it doesn't just need to apply to enemies, right? Like, it could apply to weapons, where maybe you have a sword and then you plant the sword and you put in the gun seed, and then you've got a sword gun, and and maybe how they grow could be different, right? Like, because you've got other games in the genre, more like a Dead Cells, where you have variation within weapons, and so maybe at the start of your run you plant your seeds for the next run based on what you've got, and maybe you get all sorts of weird combination weapons. Or I guess I just sort of fell in love with the idea of combining things in a way that sort of seeds, it's almost like inspired by the Animal Crossing, cross-pollination of flowers to get new coloured flowers, but just, and to me it sort of made sense in that Metroidvania sort of style of gameplay.
Well, and it makes complete sense in some of those games, too, so because, like, Hollow Knight is very nature-based. I mean, they're all, like, insectoid creatures, so, and it would make sense that, like, a thing that you might, as a weapon, would be, like, a plant, or plant-based. Like, I'm imagining you grow, like, a blackberry bush or something, and you take the thorniest thorn off the blackberry bush, but because you spliced the seed or watered the seed with the water from the toxic realm, it's poisonous, poisonous blackberry thorn.
Yeah, right. And like that sounds amazing, right? And just the ability to sort of imagine all of the possible combinations. That's the sort of stuff that gets me excited, I think, when I think about game design and game aspects. Is like, how could people way more creative than me take this in so many different directions?
Yeah. Well, and it could be that like the each boss you defeat gives you a way to modify a different part of a weapon. So like, oh, you defeated this boss by being really fast, so now you can affect the speed of your weapon.
That would be amazing. That sounds great.
And this one did weird stuff where you were really defensive, so now you're able. Yep, you have all the good ideas.
What else have you got, Cody? Those were all of my ideas, if I'm being honest.
No, that was it. Pokemon was my big idea, which is very low-hanging fruit. And then the other idea that I pitched is the one that they talked about last time. I was sitting down trying to think about how to add farming to different things, and my brain kept going to like games where you collect insects, and I was like, those all pretty much already have farming in them. Or I was trying to think like what games would I add like insect collection to.
And did you come up with any? What game would you add insect collection to?
Oh, for me, it's everything. I mean, every single thing I want insect collection to be added to, because I am an entomologist and it's what I study. I mean, you kind of already do it in Skyrim, but you could do it at like more of a higher level. I'm thinking like the guy who studies the Nirnroot, and he wants you to collect Nirnroot from like all over Skyrim and Oblivion, because it's originally from that one. But like, sorry, it's hitting. Someone who wants you to collect all the insects from all of the different areas, because those are going to be different. Like, you're going to catch different things in Markarth versus the Rift versus Falkreath, like those areas. But I don't think they ever really do that very much. You basically just like collect a bee, and then you can use that in alchemy, and collect this other thing, and then you can use it in something else. But I want it just for the natural history aspect of it, and like the collect, like just so that you can think.
I think that's a good point though. From like whether it's things like insect catching or farming or those sorts of things. I think one of the things that appeals to me about it having more of a presence in games is that, we talked at the start about how into, the story of games I am, and that includes the world building. And one of the things that I like in games is when they have something like insect collection, and you can tell that they've really thought about how do these insects interact within the world that they're in, and we haven't just randomly dropped a bunch of moths and flies in, and the one that glows comes out at night, and that was about as much thinking as was put into where these things live, right? Because I think those little things can add a lot to your experience in a world, and sort of building that sense of immersion of, if you are walking through a bright flowery field and you come across brightly colored insects that blend in, or whatever those things are, that like, if you just know a little bit, you're like, oh, this makes sense, or this correlates to things that I know from from science. It's kind of like the more chill version of what Apico was doing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I like it when that level of thinking is in a game.
And this is another thing that just from this conversation, my brain has just like jumped to a different thing. Why is it that when in these games, when you catch a fish or a bug, you automatically know what it is, versus when you collect like a geode or a fossil, like you need to take it to a specialist? I can tell you right now, I get so many messages from my friends who are like, what is this? And they will straight up misidentify insects. They'll be like, it's a yellow jacket. And I'm like, it's not going to hurt you. It's actually a bee. Or, oh, this is a bee. Nope, that's actually a wasp. Oh, look at this fly. That's a beetle, but okay. Like, it's real cool. Why?
So me and some friends, we do we do a lot of hiking, and part of that is we see a lot of birds, and so we kind of like to identify birds. And our joke is, anytime anyone sends a picture of a bird, and tries to identify it, the instant response is, it's a sparrow, because we just assume that everything is a sparrow. So it could be the most amazing bird, and we're just like, that's a sparrow.
I mean, that is very fair. But, or like here in the United States and like where we're at, it's warblers. Like every kind of, it's just a warbler. It's always a warbler, which is another type of bird. But like people in a lot of these games, it's just like, you've collected the super rare striped green sphinx moth or the super rare, gosh, there were a couple that I just collected in the games that in Coral Island that I was like, this is really niche. And like, how no one could just like collect it and know what that is. Like I want there to be a system where you collect a bug, like in Coral Island, for example, where you collect a bug, but you aren't skilled enough to know what it is yet. So it's just like mystery beetle or mystery fly. And then you have to take it to Eleanor, who is amazing, by the way. Why can't I romance the elder entomology lady? That's who I want to marry. It's not
because old people are gross, Cody.
They don't deserve love.
Correct. That's what all of these games are teaching us.
I love Eleanor so much. I give her an insect every time I see her. She's like one of the only people in the village or in the town that like accept an insect as a gift and are like, she's like, oh my gosh, how did you know I would love this? And I'm like, because I know you. But yeah, because how much of a rabbit hole do I want to get down? I get worried that it's going to have people just think that they can just pick something up and know what it is. When like, because it happens online, people will be like, oh, this is this kind of bee. Like, oh, this is a Lasioglossum curtinata or something like that. And I'm like, really? You identified that from this tiny, tiny little grainy, like Yeti picture that you took on your phone when one of the world experts on that group can't identify them when they're under a microscope? Like, you think that you did that? Really?
I don't think games are at risk of perpetuating that. It's just stupid people plus the internet that's really the main driver of that one.
I would love for it to be like mystery thing, and then you have to research it, and then you have to like look at it and be like, oh wow, it's this because of this reason. I just want an entomology game.
What? No way. That had not come across at all through this conversation.
I just want a game that's 100% you catch bugs in all the different areas and then you have to look at them under a microscope and exactly be like, oh, it's a beetle because it has hardened elytra, and it's a fly because it only has 2 wings and it has 2 halteres instead of pined wings, and oh, it's this, blah, 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 blah.
So listeners, if you were ever curious of whether or not Cody enjoyed her job, I think the fact that the game that you most want is just your job as a game.
It is. It really is. I would love so much. Okay. Well, yeah, that's all I had.
I think that's all I had as well.
Rant over. Well, so that is it for this episode. Where can people find you on the internet, Jonnie?
As always, if you want to chat about anything we've talked about, if you've got some cool ideas for games that should include farming, go to patreon.com/thspod. If you sign up for the Patreon, you get access to the Slack where we berate Al and Kevin over their terrible tier lists.
We do. And every now and then I post pictures of my dogs or the myriad tattoos that I get. I just had to stop myself from getting another one. My bank account is very happy that I did that, but I don't know, see lots of cool stuff. Bugs, I post pictures of bugs sometimes, not as often as I would probably like to. I should probably post more. So that's where you could also find me, or you can see the deranged postings that I do on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Hiking Beagle, B-E-Eagle. And that is the only place I'm going to say that I am, because all of the other places are awful. You can find Al to tell him ask him about why he only likes redheaded women and Linus at the Scottbot on mastodon.scott and on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Tumblr and Twitter at thspod. At our website, you can provide feedback and receive the links to all of our show notes, including the transcripts of each episode are available in our show notes. And that is at harvestseason.club. And there you can access the Patreon that Jonnie just mentioned. and come and join the fun. And tell us what you want to have an episode on. Let us know if you want more of me just ranting. Though I don't know how many people actually want to listen to that.
At least one, Codey. At least one.
So thank you, Jonnie, for joining me.
Thanks, Codey.
And until next time,
have a good harvest.
Good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
Good, we were like opposite ends of the speed spectrum.
Dude, I feel like I'm dialed into how Al does it. So I'm like I do it a very specific way. And yeah, maybe we should. Yeah, you are not. And that is cooler and more original. And I appreciate that about you.